everyone, and welcome to another edition of Political Power Ranker. I'm Chris Berg, the political director for Next Star Media affiliates across the nation. And joining me this week, as always, is the Emerson College professor of all that is politics, Spencer Kimball. Spencer is the director of polling at Emerson. Spencer, good to see you again.
Chris, always good to see you. Looking forward to polling California together today.
The state out west that we love to talk about because there's so much going on. So let's jump right into it. You have a poll, brand new, fresh today, and share us some information about that big issue that we've got facing Prop 50.
Yeah, it's very exciting in California. We've got the redistricting issue on the ballot, going to be on the ballot in November. And in a way, Gavin Newsom's on the ballot as well, because this is his issue. And if we take a look at the polling that we've done on it over the last couple of months, back in August was when it was a hypothetical issue, it was a +7 or 8. Now it's a +15, 16, 17, it looks like, 51, 34. And if you've noticed those undecided voters, they've broken literally 2-to-1 in favor of the referendum. So it suggests that out of that 15% sitting on the sideline, they're leaning in favor of it, which is very good news for Gavin Newsom. And we'll see what the side who's opposing it is going to do to try to move these numbers.
And let's be very clear here. It's sitting at 51% support of passing the redistricting that Gavin Newsom supports. That's over that 50% threshold that you kind of look at and go, does this have momentum to get done, to pass in November?
Yeah, exactly. And if we look at that next slide where we look at that intensity of the vote, take a look at likelihood of voting. Those who say they're very likely to vote, it's a +20. Those who are on the sideline, they're very split on the issue, which kind of says why they're on the sideline. But those who really want to come out and vote for it, you can see it goes up in points. So the movement is in that direction. And we're going to see if the other side is going to be able to change that momentum.
This is a perfect time to bring in the host of Inside California Politics, Nikki Lorenzo. She hosts our weekly show out of our Sacramento station. Nikki, this is the first time you're seeing these numbers. What are you thinking?
Gavin Newsom has all the momentum in this, guys. And really the big question was, I know the last time we spoke, polling had it pretty much dead even. But once he has been out there messaging, he knows how to grab headlines. There are tons of ads running here, ads on social media featuring the governor, also featuring prominent figures, Democrats here in California. Senator Alex Padilla showing that viral video of him being thrown to the ground saying, look, we have to implement this plan for the next couple of election cycles. I have to tell you, right before we came on and recorded the show, the governor sent out a fundraising text message. He's been sending out a lot of them and basically saying, please, I need you to donate this. This is a quote from his text. God help us if we lose. We may have just enjoyed our last free and fair election. Describing this as a quote, this is like 5 House elections in one. And it looks like right now his messaging is working.
Spencer, any questions for Nikki? Because your numbers are very interesting and kind of surprising to me.
Well, as we look into those numbers, Nikki, we see a big gender divide. We see females much more in favor of this. We see those with postgraduate degrees, college degrees, much more in favor of this. And younger voters. It's the older vote that's a little bit more on the fence. Those over 70, they're a little more split on the issue. What do you see on the ground, particularly on those who are kind of wishy-washy if they think this is a good idea, but still willing to vote on it?
It's all about California versus Donald Trump. And with the electorate here and the breakdown of Democrats versus Republicans outnumbering them 2-to-1, and independents in past elections have shown, the data has showed they swing more to Democrats. The governor, the campaign sign, even his press office. I know you guys have probably seen the headlines over the past couple of weeks. They've been very aggressive in changing their approach and how they push back against the administration, sort of mimicking President Trump, tweeting in all caps. The meme game, as the kids say, is on point. The governor's office has gained millions of followers on TikTok. So they're really not, leaving any stone unturned and messaging to every single demographic on broadcast, on social media, on streaming. And even though there might be some of those folks that say, look, we really like this independent redistricting commission here in the state of California, we're going to hold our nose and we're going to vote in favor of this because fighting back against the Trump administration is more important, and we're going to fight for California values. That's really what's being seen here on the ground.
And I was going to say, that's what we're seeing in the data, that 20%, right now it's at 13, but 20% of people that we see are going to say, it's a bad idea, but I'm still going to vote for it. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on the other side to try to swing that vote back over. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do it. And what the message is going to be will be interesting to watch over the next 6-7 weeks.
Part of what you mentioned earlier, Spencer, was the intensity on the no side doesn't seem to be as strong as the intensity on the yes side. Nikki, are you seeing that on the ground?
You know, there are ads running on the no side, and it's an interesting dichotomy, this group, because you have, you know, the California Republican Party and the former chair of the California Republican Party, and sort of this one camp of Republicans who are fighting this, sort of led by former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who's a prolific fundraiser and is committed to raising a lot of money for this. Then you have the billionaire GOP donor, Charlie Munger Jr., who is in one camp. When this whole redistricting independent commission started many years ago, backed by then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, former Governor Gray Davis, you had this Democrat and this Republican joining forces for this independent redistricting commission, put a lot of money into this. So then there's the Charlie Munger camp, and then you throw in Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that was really going to be the wild card here. What kind of political capital does Arnold Schwarzenegger still have in California? And he basically said, forget the politicians. This isn't about Democrats. This isn't about Republicans. This is about you, the voters, and you should be picking the politicians, not the other way around. So earlier this week, he spoke at his institute at USC and basically reiterated that and said, this is not about, I'm not in Donald Trump's camp. I'm not on the Democrat side. I'm on the side of you, and you should vote against this because two wrongs don't make a right. The quote he used was, you don't fight Donald Trump being like Donald Trump. But it doesn't really seem to be carrying a lot of water here in the state of California. Their polling has showed that right now. And that was going to be the wild card. Was he's going to come out and fight against Gavin Newsom? I'm told by people close to him that he's not forming a campaign. There's no Arnold Schwarzenegger against Prop 50 campaign. He's going to speak and he's going to let his words kind of linger out there. But I do know for folks that were at this event at USC, Charlie Munger's team was there with their fancy cameras recording all of this. So you can expect to see his words in ads in the future.
Wow. And Spencer, you've got a little bit of data on the impact of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I smile about that because sometimes we go in the field without a compass and we don't know where we're going to end up. Here, I know where we're going to end up, and it's not going to be a very positive place for Arnold Schwarzenegger. When we ask voters, are you more likely or less likely to support this initiative because he opposes it? They're more likely to support it because of his opposition, 20-10. Now, 70% of people say it makes no difference what the former governor thinks on the issue. But that's a real concern if you're on the anti-side, because who's the voice that's going to come out and campaign on the issue? If they're not listening to Schwarzenegger, the question is, who will they listen to? And without that figure, right now, the other side has Newsom and other big name Democrats joining the ranks. Who's going to be on the other side telling them to vote no? And that's what's going to play out in a short period of time. Nikki, do you have any indication on who could that person be if it's not Schwarzenegger?
Well, it's definitely not former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. It's not like he has a lot of cachet with California voters right now, considering his political history. Everyone was really talking behind the scenes that Schwarzenegger could be the guy because he wasn't a Trump supporter. He endorsed Kamala Harris in the last election, so he could be this moderate voice. But I was talking to someone on the Yes on Prop 50 campaign side, and this person was telling me, look, we're not. There were two camps and both on the yes side, and they were basically saying, we're worried about Arnold Schwarzenegger. We don't know what he's going to do. Governor Newsom did go to Schwarzenegger's house and to meet with him and basically say, look, I understand this is about your legacy. This independent redistricting commission is something that's very near and dear to you. We're not going to destroy that. This is going to go back to an independent commission after 2030. This is about the moment that we're in right now. We're in unprecedented times. You have, strong feelings about Donald Trump. This is about the moment. it's going to go back. Your legacy is going to be reinstated. And we were concerned, or they were concerned there was going to be this Trump versus Newsom battle out there. But other folks in the Yes on 50 camp said, people really look into how Schwarzenegger left office. He was underwater. He's sort of been out of political life. He was a very interesting figure at the time. He hasn't really waded into politics that often, so his voice isn't going to be that powerful. And Spencer, your polling is showing that that's the case.
Very revealing. I think it's a surprise for me, not that Arnold does not have that kind of cachet any longer when it comes to the voting public. But someone who's gaining cachet, and you mentioned him earlier, is Governor Gavin Newsom. And Spencer, you've got a slide about approval for the governor right now.
Yeah, if we take a look at this over the last year, look, he was underwater. He starts to compete with Trump on the redistricting. And now over the last 2 months, he's been able to hold his ground in a positive direction. And that's a big change for where the governor was. Remember, there was calls for recall. There was a vote for a recall. But after all of that, he's right now holding above the favorable mark. We'll see if he can continue in this trend. But it seems like he's found an issue to run on, not just here in California, but potentially for 28.
Nikki, how does that feel to you? Does that feel about right?
Feels about right, dead on. And the governor really knows how to grab headlines, stay relevant. If we think about the back and forth of Governor Newsom, and it really aligns with the news over the past couple of weeks and the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. When Governor Newsom launched his podcast earlier this year, his very first guest was Charlie Kirk. And he said, we're going to wade into spaces and we're going to talk to people that we don't normally talk to. He got a lot of blowback in the state of California from the progressives, especially his comments on trans rights. And in that conversation with Charlie Kirk, and there were a lot of Democrats in the legislature who were pushing back, who were not in favor of what he was saying. And Gavin Newsom doesn't need to win California. He's a lame duck governor. What he wants to do right now is win America. And so he started back then. And he, when people look at him as a politician, he's a political athlete and he knows how to put his finger to the wind and see where things are going. And with polling showing that Democrats didn't really have a leader, he stepped up and has slowly chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And here in California, people like that he is fighting back because they haven't really seen Democrats do that.
Spencer, a quick question for you. Is Prop 50 a referendum on Newsom and his political future?
In a way, it is. He's really put a lot of chips in on this issue. And I think at this point, he's going to win. And that's going to really propel him come 2028. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because obviously we have 2026 and 2025 to deal with. But this is a very interesting play by the governor, puts him on that national spotlight. And when we come back next segment and we start talking about those issues, particularly threats to democracy, you can see that messaging really playing nationally.
Absolutely. And you stole part of my tease. We are going to take a break. Spencer's got more numbers to look at, including the governor's race. And you're going to want to stick around for that. So we'll be right back in 1 minute. Welcome back to Political Power Ranker, where we're talking about a brand new California poll released just today by Emerson College and Spencer Kimball, who did all the number crunching. And joining us, as always, when we talk about California, is Inside California politics host Nikki Lorenzo, who is at our Fox 40 station, so in Sacramento. So next up, it's the race for governor in California, and we've got some new numbers. So Spencer, tell us what we're looking at. This is announced candidates only right now.
Yeah, and so when we take a look at this race, remember, this is in June of 2026. We're going to have the primary. So, we're within a year. And what you see is a large number of undecided voters. I take you down to the bottom, and that number really hasn't changed very much. And it looks like in California, Katie Porter, you can see that the numbers have held for the top candidates in the field. And it's almost as if this race is a little bit frozen in time as voters are focusing in on the redistricting. And we'll see, obviously, after redistricting, if there's a game changer here. But that's what we're seeing in the announced candidates, pretty consistent numbers from what we saw last month.
Nikki, Katie Porter continues to lead the pack. Surprising in your mind, or no?
I don't think so. I mean, she has a lot of that name ID coming off the Senate race. She announced early. She's traveling up and down the state. She's doing interviews. But people that I talk to that are involved in the campaigns and who are observing campaigns tell me the same thing that Spencer just said. The quote that I always get: the governor's race is on ice right now. Nobody was expecting this Prop 50 ballot measure. It's such a short amount of time. There's so much money being thrown into this race right now. All the Democrats are focused on this race, and that's really going to be the top priority until after November. And then we'll sort of see how things shake out. Once I think the first of the year is when things will start heating up again, and we still have some questions lingering if some other Democrats are going to jump into.
Any number out there that you're looking at right now surprise you?
What's interesting is when you see, I mean, the undecideds, obviously, this race, people just don't know. Uh, the Republicans at 2 and 3 there, and how they keep flip flopping. You have Steve Hilton at number 2, and the Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco at number 3. So that 2 and 3 spot kind of toggles back and forth, Spencer, right? From 2 Republicans being in there to a Democrat being in there.
Exactly. When you're dealing with pluralities, remember the top 2 are going to go to the runoff here. And so we'll see who gets that momentum. The Republican side, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a Republican and Democrat in that general election, though it's shaping up to look that way. But anything can happen in these jungle primaries.
And I do want to talk about a candidate that's not announced, but is right there on the screen, Alex Padilla, a senator. Let's talk about him a little bit, Nikki. He's being chased by Javier Becerra there, who's been in the race for quite some time. But for a sitting senator, he's only garnering 7% of the vote. What do you think about that number?
So just to give a little bit of context here, this started pretty recently. It was just only a few weeks ago. My phone started pinging late one night saying, hey, Alex Padilla is being recruited to run for governor. And this is a very trusted source in the Los Angeles area who sent me this information. So I went to work making calls and quickly learned that this is something that was pretty unique. I know he was taking some meetings up here in Sacramento, and it's something that he's considering. He was asked by moderators at a Politico event here too in Sacramento. He didn't say no, said he loves California, and he's up for a challenge. And look, the next governor has a lot to deal with. I mean, this is not going to be an easy job. The thing that's interesting about Alex Padilla is, look, he's been in politics in California for a really long time, has a really good reputation, is really well liked. Not a bombastic guy, very, very measured, but he was Secretary of State before he was appointed by the governor, who they're very close to be the U.S. Senator when Kamala Harris was tapped to be the VP. Not really, super well known. If you look at past senators of California, when you look at the Feinstein and Boxer era, 2 women with high name ID, but it wasn't until that viral moment with Secretary Noem at the press conference where he was arrested, thrown to the ground, that went viral, and there was a lot of talk that Alex Padilla is going to have some serious name ID and cachet, not only in California and around the country, but your polling, Spencer, shows that he still has some work to do if he's going to run statewide. I mean, he's run statewide for U.S. Senate, but if you're a Democrat in California and your name's on the ballot, and there's a D next to it, you're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers show that it wouldn't be an instant game changer if he was to jump in the race. The way it was kind of being promoted was, if the senator jumps in, that's going to clear the field and, shake it all up. We put him in the race. It didn't clear the field. None of the top candidates' numbers moved at all. A slight shift of the undecided number. But generally speaking, he will have to, roll himself out to the general public like almost any other candidate. And he is a U.S. senator, so I think that would propel him pretty quickly up the ranks. But there would still be that process of introducing him to the voters because we don't see that in these numbers. We would have expected him to have done much better.
And I also have to say the Newsom factor, if Newsom were to get involved, and considering the polling that we talked about before and his popularity and how Californians feel about him, they're very close. Gavin Newsom didn't have any really name ID. I mean, he had name ID. He was a lieutenant governor. He'd been mayor for a while, but not in Southern California. That's where the voters are. And Alex Padilla was very popular in LA. And so he, walked precincts for him, knocked on doors, campaigned for him. So Governor Newsom has always said, when they've appeared together, I owe it to this guy right here. They're close. And so if he were to come out and endorse him, back him, that would be huge for Alex Padilla.
And there's also the opportunity here on the redistricting for Padilla to have more of a space on that platform. So if Newsom was to give him some speaking opportunities, maybe not give Porter other speaking opportunities, you could start to see voters get the cues of who they should be supporting, and that might impact this race. But again, I think this will all kind of come to a boil, as Nikki said, at the start of the year after the holidays.
And one more quick note, Alex Padilla is in an ad for the Yes on Prop 50 that's airing, showing that moment, that viral moment of him being tackled and arrested at the press conference. So I thought that was a little bit of an interesting choice.
Now, Alex Padilla was put in his spot by Governor Newsom a couple of years ago to fill the role. So it makes a perfect sense for him to endorse him at some point, wouldn't it? Or no?
Yeah, it would make sense for that. And also to point out here, he's got nothing to lose. He's a U.S. senator. He doesn't have to give up his seat. So if he decides to run for governor, increase his name ID, doesn't work out, he still can be a U.S. senator. Now, right. Then, if he were to become elected, then, you start looking at the puzzle pieces, who would be appointed to fill the rest of his term. A lot of, there's some rumors out there rolling around that he would appoint Newsom to fill the rest of his seat. Then he can run for president. I'm told that Newsom said, heck no. There was another word used, but I won't use it on Power Ranker.
Thank you. This is a family show. Couple of quick other slides, because we've got some issues that are most important to the U.S. from a California perspective. And Spencer, why don't you talk about these real quick?
So we asked people of California, what's the most important issue facing the United States? And you can see the top two issues is the economy and threats to democracy. You can see the other two issues, immigration and housing affordability, are on the lower side. But when we ask these voters, what's the most important issue facing California, we start to see a big change. There, threats to democracy doesn't play as well. It's housing affordability. So when Newsom is running on threats to democracy, he's talking to the nation as a whole, saying that's the issue, and people are saying, yeah, that's the issue nationally. If he was speaking to the voters of California, he would more likely talk about affordable housing, because that connects with the residents of California. So there's two different audiences that the governor gets to talk to. Nationally, threats to democracy, but locally, back in the state, it would be more on affordable housing. And Nikki, what are you seeing as far as opportunities in affordable housing that the governor is implementing, or policies? Because although nationally the issue is threats to democracy, the affordable housing, we saw it in New York City, we see it in Boston. It is a local issue that hasn't really been well addressed. And does the governor have any programs that he'll be able to use potentially in a 2028 platform?
See, that's where I think when people start really diving into the presidential and looking at records, the governor is going to struggle, because Governor Newsom is known to overpromise and underdeliver. And there's been lots of reporting that he had ambitious housing goals, especially addressing homelessness, that have not come to fruition. I will say, and this could be the reason that Katie Porter is sitting steady at the top there, she has been hitting hard on this issue. There was a fundraising email that was sent out last week where she said, I am going to be a housing governor. I'm the only person in this race that can address the issue of housing here in the state of California, because it has affected me directly. So if she continues to push that message, and the voters of California are telling us in your polling, Spencer, that that's the top issue, she could potentially stay the leader in this race.
Wow, we got to take a quick break, because we are running long, and we can't forget who's up and who's down. We got to get to that. So we'll be right back after another quick 1-minute break from Political Power Ranker. Welcome back to Political Power Ranker for our final segment. Who's up and who's down? Spencer's going to tell us. Spencer, who is up this week?
Well, as we take a look at our plasma screen, we see a couple of things that are up. First, Prop 50. That's up. It's up 17 points. And so we put that one with the arrow going up. And connected to Prop 50 is Governor Newsom. And we also have the governor up this week. His favorability has stayed steady over the last month, and he seems to have a winning issue right now.
He certainly does. Nikki, these numbers look really good for the governor and his number one issue. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the governor is flying high right now. This is something that he has put all of his political weight behind. He is calling on Democrats all across the state to, get on board. They've been aggressive on all platforms. And look, the governor, no matter how, folks feel about him here in California or across the country, prior to his ballot initiative, he was not really seen as one of the leaders of the Democratic Party. And now it's Westmore who, Gretchen Whitmer who, Josh Shapiro who. The benefit that he has right now is he's a lame duck governor, so he doesn't have to worry about being reelected. Although with the electorate here in California, if he had to run again, he wouldn't have to worry about that either.
You can see that he's operating with confidence right now, where maybe a year ago you didn't see that, that joie de vivre that he has right now. It's a very interesting dynamic. Now, Spencer, let's go over to the downside. What say you?
Yeah, as I took a look at the numbers, the Terminator, I was like, whoa, Schwarzenegger, people are less, he doesn't have the juice that he had 15 years ago, it looks like. So we've got Schwarzenegger down this week. And along with Schwarzenegger, we have a sitting U.S. Senator, Alex Padilla. We expected him to be a game changer in this gubernatorial race. He'd jump in there and get double digits. He's not there right now. So right now we have him down, but we'll see if he's able to pull himself up potentially with Prop 50.
Nikki, quick thoughts.
Governor Schwarzenegger will not be back. That was my best Schwarzenegger impression.
And you know what? Go ahead. We're going to leave it there. We've got to go. Time is running out. So one quick note for everyone watching. You can watch Nikki every week with her Inside California Politics show. Just go to fox40.com, look up Inside California Politics. It's an awesome show. She has great guests every week. And I want to thank you for coming and joining us again for another edition of Political Power Ranker. Appreciate it, Nikki. And thank you for watching. We'll be back next week.